How oil controls the world. Oil is not just a resource. It is not simply fuel for cars, airplanes, or factories. Oil is power. It decides which nations rise, which governments fall, and which wars are fought. Behind almost every major conflict, economic crisis, and political decision of the last century, oil has played a silent but decisive role. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is history. To understand the modern world, we must understand oil, how it shaped civilizations, created empires, fueled wars, and continues to control the fate of humanity. Before oil, the world moved slowly. Societies relied on coal, wood, animals, and human labor. Industry was limited, transportation was slow, and global influence was restricted to those who controlled land and manpower. Everything changed in the late 19th century. When oil was discovered beneath the earth, thick and dark, few people understood its true potential. At first, it was mainly used to produce kerosene for lighting. But engineers soon realized that oil could power engines in a way nothing else could. The invention of the internal combustion engine transformed oil into the most valuable substance on Earth. Machines could now move faster, farther, and more efficiently. Armies could mobilize at unprecedented speeds. Nations that controlled oil gained an overwhelming advantage. Oil became the foundation of modern power. As the 20th century began, oil reshaped global politics. The United States emerged as the world's first major oil superpower. With massive reserves in Texas, California, and later Alaska, American companies expanded rapidly, drilling not only at home but across Latin America, the Middle East, and Africa. Great Britain quickly followed, understanding that coal-powered ships could no longer dominate the seas. The British Navy transitioned to oil, and with that decision, access to oil became a matter of national survival. Political leaders openly acknowledged this reality. Control of oil was no longer optional, it was essential. From that moment forward, military strategy, economic planning, and foreign policy were built around securing oil supplies. No region has been more profoundly affected by oil than the Middle East. Beneath vast deserts once considered worthless lay some of the largest oil reserves on the planet. Foreign companies arrived with drilling equipment, contracts, and political influence. Borders were drawn by outside powers. Monarchies were supported or installed to ensure stability and access to oil. Oil transformed small tribal regions into strategic global centers almost overnight. But this transformation came at a cost. Wealth flowed unevenly. Power concentrated in the hands of a few. Foreign intervention became constant. Instead of peace and prosperity, oil brought dependency, corruption, and conflict. Western nations depended on Middle Eastern oil to fuel their economies and militaries. Middle Eastern nations depended on Western technology and markets to sell their oil. This fragile balance created tension that still defines global politics today. Modern warfare cannot be understood without oil. World War II demonstrated this reality with brutal clarity. Germany invaded the Soviet Union partly to secure oil fields in the Caucasus. Japan expanded across Southeast Asia to gain access to fuel resources. The Allies targeted oil refineries, pipelines, and storage facilities to cripple enemy forces. Armies without fuel could not move, air forces without oil could not fly, navies without oil were powerless. After the war, the pattern continued. Conflicts across the Middle East, Africa, and Latin America were shaped by oil interests. Regimes rose and fell based on their alignment with global energy powers. Oil became both a prize and a weapon. Oil corporations grew into entities more powerful than many governments. Some oil companies generate more revenue than entire nations. Their influence extends beyond economics into politics, law, and international relations. Through lobbying, political donations, and strategic partnerships, oil companies shape government policies behind closed doors. Environmental regulations, foreign interventions, and trade agreements are often influenced by energy interests. In many countries, Governments depend heavily on oil revenue. This dependence creates vulnerability. Leaders who threaten oil interests often face economic pressure, political instability, or worse. Power no longer belongs solely to states, it belongs to those who control energy. One of the great paradoxes of oil is that many oil-rich nations remain deeply impoverished. This phenomenon is known as the resource curse. Instead of generating broad prosperity, oil wealth often fuels corruption. Political elites accumulate enormous wealth while ordinary citizens see little benefit. Democratic institutions weaken. Economies become dependent on a single resource. When oil prices fall, entire nations collapse into crisis. When prices rise, inequality deepens. Diversification becomes difficult, innovation slows. Societies become trapped in cycles of boom and bust. Oil, rather than liberating these nations, chains them to instability. Despite advances in renewable energy, the modern world still runs on oil. Transportation systems, agriculture, manufacturing, and global trade depend on it. Every product you touch, every meal you eat, every mile you travel is connected to oil in some way. A sudden interruption in oil supply would collapse modern civilization within weeks. This dependence gives oil-producing nations immense leverage. It also makes consuming nations vulnerable. Energy security has become national security. Today, humanity stands at a crossroads. Oil built the modern world, but it now threatens its future. Climate change, environmental disasters, political instability, and endless wars are deeply connected to our dependence on fossil fuels. The transition away from oil is necessary, but it is also slow, expensive, and politically dangerous. Power structures built on oil resist change, economies fear collapse, governments fear instability. And so, the world continues forward, aware of the danger, yet unable to stop. Oil is invisible in daily life, yet it controls almost everything. It shapes the food we eat, the wars we fight, and the governments we trust. It is not just a resource. It is the currency of global power. Until humanity breaks free from its dependence, oil will continue to decide the fate of nations, quietly, relentlessly, and without mercy.